Okay, YouTube, so we've now gone through 2 decades, the 60s and 70s, so welcome to the Doctor Who decades part 3, the 80s. Now, if you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, there should be a link for them in the description below. So, if you haven't seen them, then go now and watch them. Go on, I'll wait for you. Right, go on, watch parts 1 and 2. I'm not buffering. I'm just standing right still. Okay, I'm going to assume that you've done that. For those who have seen the first 2, then that's super. Well, let's get on with the 80s. So, we'd left the 70s, the year 1980. Tom Baker is still in the role of the 4th Doctor with the long scarf, the frizzy hair and stuff, and travels with his assistant Romana, who is played by Lalla Ward. You know, Mary Tam only wanted to do 1 season, so she regenerated in 1979 in Destiny of the Daleks. Now, what happened here is, oh yeah, I forgot to say, the regeneration that was not given a name until 1974 in the serial Planet of the Spiders. Forgot to mention that yesterday. Well, no, not yesterday. Wednesday in part 2. So, this video, we are now going to talk about the 80s Doctor Who. So yes, the beginning of the 80s and John Nathan Turner producing was the beginning of the end for the 4th Doctor, because he didn't like the changes that were getting made. Also, he married Tom Baker married his co-star Lalla Ward, and then divorced her, and they couldn't bear to be with each other. They couldn't bear working on set. Whenever they'd finish filming, they'd just walk off in opposite directions. So, 1980, the Doctor confronted many foes, including vampires, and also got a new recruit, Adric, and also came across lion-like people. And in 1980, we saw the departure of Lalla Ward, who was, Romana. But the 4th Doctor, Tom Baker was getting to the point where he'd had enough. So, 1981, we saw a serial called The Keeper of Traken, where the Master returned. The Master fooled the Council of Traken to make him the Keeper, and was going to use that power to steal the Doctor's remaining regeneration cycles. Of course, the Doctor stopped him and the Master failed, and then took the body of one of the people in the serial, Tremus. Tremus helped the Doctor stop the Master, but the Master got him, took his body, and regenerated into it. The Master at the time was still deformed or mutated, and was played by, this time, not Peter Pratt, but Jeffrey Beavers. And then Anthony Ainley straight after that. All the way throughout the 80s, Anthony Ainley was the Master. He was the longest running Master of Doctor Who, from 1981 to 1989. Anyway, in the serial Legopolis, after 4 parts, Tom Baker's Doctor met his end when he emerged with the Watcher. Now, I'm not 100% sure on the Watcher. I'm assuming he's the ghost of the 5th Doctor's physical form. And whenever the 5th Doctor regenerated, it repeats its cycle. I don't know why. That's just my theory on that. So, anyway, 1981, Tom Baker's Doctor regenerated into a new man. Now, when they was looking for a new Doctor, they got in touch with young actor from All Creatures Great and Small, Peter Davison, and he took on the role as the youngest Doctor, as he was only 29 when he was given the part. Of course, he didn't really set off his Doctor Who run until 1982 in the serial Castrovalva, where he spent most of the serial recovering from his regeneration. Excuse me 1 minute. Yes, it's pink, it's my sister's cup. It's the only one I could find. Anyhow, yes. So, Peter Davison, he had many adventures in his time. and also, you know, came across the Master, because Anthony Ainley became a regular. You know, looks like he's always going to die, then comes back the next season. So, the Fifth Doctor was different though. He was young, he was blonde, he wore Edwardian cricket gear, and even a stick of celery. Now, the stick of celery apparently explained in the case of Androzani that he's allergic to cartridge gas, and whenever he's around the substance, the celery turns purple and he eats it as it's some kind of medical sauce on Gallifrey. Anyway, as time went on, we then got Doctor Who in 1983 reached its 20th year, and with it being a 20th anniversary, another decade of Doctor Who, they had to get all the timelines to cross over once again. But of course, William Hartnell had died in 1975, so he couldn't come back as the first Doctor. He did have a small part in the beginning though, with his farewell speech to Susan on the Dalek invasion of Earth. And then of course, we then got they got another actor to play him, Richard Herndon, who people say he looked like William Hartnell. He dressed like him and stuff, but I don't think he did much. He didn't really act, I don't think he really acted much like him. He didn't really act very grumpy or anything. Anyway, he was the first Doctor. It had the return of Patrick Troughton as the second Doctor, with Nicholas Courtney, the Brigadier. It had John Pertwee back as the third Doctor, with Elizabeth Sladen, Sarah Jane. It had a cameo from K9. It also had, Tom Baker had a cameo in it, as he didn't want to do the 20th anniversary special. But he did have a small part from some footage in the unfinished serial Sharda. So they put that bit in there, and then for the rest of the story, the fourth Doctor was forever paralysed in the time vortex. Well, not forever paralysed, just paralysed through the whole story. So then the fifth Doctor and all the other Doctors had to find out what was going on, as chunks of his past were getting taken somewhere else. The Doctor found out that he was on the Death Zone in Gallifrey, and he was playing the game of Rassilon, and had to get to the tomb, thinking someone's put them there. Now they thought, let's go with the Master, but they thought if it's the Master, it's not going to come to that much of a surprise, and they were quite right. So, Anthony Ainley was in it as the Master, and it also had, and they thought they've got to have a Dalek in it, so the Daleks in, so they managed to get at least one Dalek in there, a Yeti, and a small group of Cybermen. Anyway, we found out that the main villain for about the 20th anniversary was President Barusa, a Time Lord, and he wanted the Ring of Rassilon so he could become immortal. But of course, he didn't know that it was, not a blessing but a curse, because you'd live with Rassilon and you'd sleep for all eternity like he did in his tomb. Anyway, moving on. After the 20th anniversary celebrations calmed down, Peter Davison made his final season as the Doctor. You had the exit of Tegan, who was played by Janet Fielding. Also in 1982, Adric called it a day too. As I forgot to say. Also, the 5th Doctor, he met the 10th Doctor once, and we'll get to that one in a future video. So, yes, 1984, Peter Davison decided 3 seasons are enough, and called it a day. He then inevitably regenerated into the 6th Doctor, Colin Baker. So there he were, the 4th Doctor falling to his death from saving the universe from the Master, to the 5th Doctor sacrificing himself to save his companion Perry. Now, you see, this regeneration is said to be one of the best regenerations, and it probably is. And it also has Colin Baker in. Now, Colin Baker, he'd been in Doctor Who before. He was in a serial as a Time Lord Authority in the story Arc of Infinity, and that was the first time they ever reused an actor from an old serial to be the Doctor, which has been done recently with Peter Capaldi, and that's again another video for another day. So, we all got to see, so the Sixth Doctor, even though his run was short-lived, he was very different to the last, 5 before him. He was, in his regeneration, he was all witty and hyper and a bit dazed and confused. He wore a terribly mismatched patterned jack coat, which I think looks quite cool now. And also, he has a unique sense of style, the Sixth Doctor, but Colin Baker didn't want to wear that. He got no say in what his costume was going to be. He wanted something of what Christopher Eccleston eventually got, but John Nathan Turner wanted a wacky time wizard. So anyway, the Sixth Doctor, now his first season in 1985 was believed to have gotten quite violent, and Doctor Who was in deep trouble. In fact, he was going to get taken off air for about 18 months with its violence and that in it. So they thought, if the show's on trial, let's put the Doctor on trial. So for Colin Baker's final season, they they had to scrap loads of serials and stories for that season and rewrote it and made The Trial of a Time Lord, a 14-part serial where the Sixth Doctor is having all visions and flashbacks of what was going on until, well, he lost his friend Perry and thought she was dead, but she was actually safe and sound as a warrior princess. But then he got a new companion, which was from his future, which somehow collided with the trial of a Time Lord, Mel. The Doctor also came across another Time Lord named the Valeyard, which means Doctor of Law, I think. Still, that was believed to be the Doctor in his 12th or 13th incarnation. But I think somehow he rewrote that part of time or something. He did something. So anyway, the Sixth Doctor. And in 1986, the Sixth Doctor and Mel got into the TARDIS, and then that was it for Colin Baker. What happened was, John Nathan Turner managed to renew Doctor Who for another season, but they didn't want Colin Baker, so they sacked him. Colin Baker, so angry at them at the time, refusing to do a regeneration when that's all they wanted to bring him back for. He refused to do it, and of course, he was very upset, but they also had to find a new actor. And that actor was former Tiswas star and child's entertainer Sir Percy James Patrick Kent Smith, better known by his stage name Sylvester McCoy. Now, again, his time as the Doctor was short-lived. See, I think Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy were good doctors. I just think it was the wrong time for them, the late 80s, because, well, the 80s, at the end of the 80s, Doctor Who was going down in ratings. But still, Sylvester McCoy, he was, again, a unique kind of Doctor. He had a question mark handled umbrella, and he was funny and charming and did magic tricks. But then each season went by, he got more and more serious. This is because Sylvester McCoy believed that a witty and funny Doctor led to weaker stories. So he inherited companion Mel, and eventually he got a new companion, Ace. So, yes, Sylvester McCoy was in the role as the Doctor for 3 seasons, until 1989, when they unfortunately cancelled it. It was just like that, cancelled after the final serial, Survival. And that had Anthony Ainley in as the Master. So yeah, it left quite a few questions unanswered. What happened to the Master? Because assuming that he survived, as he made out he was dead forever in every serial when he came back in the next season. But who knows? What would a Doctor Who been like if it was in the 90s? Well, that's for the next video. Yes. So, the 90s. We'll tune in for that next time. So, yeah, if you like this video, please like. If you want to share, then please feel free to share. If you like this video, please give it a like. And also, you can watch like I said at the beginning, you can watch parts 1 and 2 in the description below. Also in the description below is a link to my Facebook page. Be sure to like that and follow me on Facebook. And yeah, and also subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you after this one. So, till next time, goodbye friends. Follow me on Facebook. Ha.